Hi, this is Professor Ormsby, and each semester that I teach calculus, I realize that students are lacking in some of the foundation skills. And it's not that they don't remember them necessarily or they don't recognize it, maybe they're just a little rusty. And so sometimes they learn the calculus, but they're hindered by the fact that they are a little rusty on some of these foundational skills. And if you haven't had a chance, go back and look at some of my Professor Readiness checks on my YouTube channel as well at Calc Ready. And we looked at, in the last several weeks, foundational skills like algebra, exponentials, logarithms, arithmetic, things like that. And so today we're actually going to look at a pre-calculus concept that leads into calculus. So let's get started. All right, so yesterday I asked if you could find the slope between these 2 points. So go ahead and pause the video if you haven't had a chance to take a look at this and see if you can figure out what this answer would be. And then come back and we'll take a look. All right, so if you had a chance to pause the video and give it a chance, give it a shot to determine the slope, or maybe you did it yesterday, let's take a look and see if you were correct. So we're going to find the slope, and a lot of times what we denote this as is m, and we sometimes call this rise over run. So rise over run, which is the change in y over the change in x, or we can take the difference in the y's over the difference in the x's. And so I have two ordered pairs up here for you. I have 8, 2, 8, the xy, and then 1, 3. And so the change in the y would be the rise between the vertical distance between these two y coordinates, and then the run is the difference between the two x coordinates. And so we're going to take 8 minus 3 over 2 minus 1, which is 5 over 1. So the slope is going to be 5. So that is the steepness, if you want to say that, between these 2 points. So if you took a line or a segment and you connected it, it would be the slope of this, connecting these 2 points here, would be the rise over the run, or the change in y over the change in x. By the way, if you got that right, congratulations. And if you didn't, you're not alone. A lot of students might forget this particular concept, but if you remembered, you're closer to calculus than you might realize. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at how this connects to calculus, or why does this matter? So first you have the slope between 2 points, and I just noticed a typo there. We'll correct that. So the slope between 2 points is what we call the average rate of change. And again, it's the change in y over the change in x, or the difference in the two y coordinates over the difference in the two x coordinates. But actually, this pre-calculus concept leads itself into a calculus concept called the derivative. And it's actually, another word for this is instantaneous rate of change. And that's the derivative. It's actually a form of slope. And the reason that it's that is what we do in calculus is, this is what we call a secant segment. It connects 2 points. But what if I wanted to know the slope of the line that's actually tangent to this point? All right, so that would mean that this point right here, I'm going to use a different color, so we'll use orange. So this point needs to get closer and closer. We'll call this Q and this P. And so Q needs to get closer and closer to P. And as it does, it gets closer and closer to this actual slope of the tangent line. This is all a calculus concept, but it's all related to slope. And so if you were able to do this problem, you're actually closer to the calculus concepts than you might realize. So calculus isn't about throwing away mathematics you already know. You build on them and you make connections to them. And so you might wonder, well, what foundational skills am I rusty on? Well, that's why I created this free calculus readiness assessment. And so it will help you identify your strengths and any learning gaps that you have. You get a personalized readiness score from me. You discover which prerequisite skills you'll need to review before you enter calculus. And maybe even while you're taking calculus, this could be a good review for you as well, just to kind of know what you need to look at for these foundational skills. So go ahead and go to my website at calculusready.com, download the free assessment, or you can scan my QR code. So thanks for watching and good luck in your classes.